Welcome to this edition of the Sentinels of Truth. I'm your host, Eric Spitfire Wilkinson. Lori Alexander will not be with us tonight, but we do have some great guests as well as Jeffrey Lehman and Billy Talon. Our guests tonight are Greg Fernandez Jr. He is the owner of Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook page. Great, deep researcher and investigator who has looked into several different anomalies when it comes to some of these supposed deaths or false flags. Also have Dan Hennon with us too. Let's bring them on. All right, you just got to unmute Greg and we'll have you going.
See. All right, how about now?
Sounds good. Great. Coming through good. Yes, Skype can be tricky, so we'll just cross our fingers and hope everything goes okay.
Hope for the best. Just like the old days, right?
Yeah, right. So I'll let you tell the story. I'll let you I'll let you tell the story about David Crowley, what his situation is. The film Gray State, which we're still waiting to finally see, which we probably will never see. Anyway, take it away.
Nope, you never will. Nope, you will never see it. You might see a hacked version of it. You might see somebody trying to take his work, but you will never see this story that David was trying to tell. It is the story of the police state coming live to the USA. That was the story based on a 2012 trailer that David Crowley made. And I believe probably it's got like over probably close to 3 million views now, maybe. David Crowley is a former U.S. soldier. And on January 17th, 2015, his body, his wife's body, and his daughter's body were found in their home in Apple Valley, Minnesota. David was found with his right hand missing, quote unquote, missing. Kamel, his wife, was found with both of her hands were, quote unquote, missing. And his daughter, 5-year-old daughter, her whole arm missing. All of them shot in the head. David and his wife, most of their heads were gone. The 5-year-old daughter had a fractured rib, which led a lot of people to think that somebody had ripped her arm out. They have a dog, a medium-sized dog. The dog is blamed for all of the quote-unquote missing body parts, including their heads. Now, there are so many different things in this case that do not add up. But the most simple thing is what proves David Crowley guilty. Within 24 hours, cops were saying that David Crowley was guilty before they had even looked at his body. They missed a bullet, the bullet that will be tied to David and tied to his daughter. They missed that when they left that house. They had to come back two separate times to find these two bullets. And they didn't even come back. They had to be told that these bullets were there. This could be a very sloppy investigation, sure, or it could be a cover-up. It could be both. I don't really know. What I know for sure is that nobody can prove that David Crowley is guilty of murdering his wife, murdering his daughter, and then killing himself. Because he is a soldier, they tried to blame PTSD. They tried to blame everything, but they never really looked at, well, okay, what leads us to think that David Crowley is guilty? It's nothing. It's nothing. Now, I know, Eric, you've covered this. You covered this very early on, and thank you so much for that. You were a big part of helping to keep this case going. When the alternative media turned their back on this case, covered it for maybe a couple days, and that was basically it. Nobody else wanted to touch this case, but you did. And I really thank you for that. And because of that, and because of people like you, here we are almost 5 years later. And we're told that we should not be asking questions. We're told to just stop looking at this case, just to move on. Go enjoy life. How do we do that? This could be any of us. Anybody listening to this. This could happen to any of you too. And how would you want that to be treated? How would you want your family to treat that? Would you want them to look deeper? Would you want them to actually investigate the investigators? Or would you be scared, silent, shut up and just move on and hope they don't kill you too. Because that's what we're basically talking about here. David had a $30 million deal in the works. They were going to take his trailer and make that into a movie. Then they said, no, it'll be better as a TV series. So then they were going to make it into a TV series. And then David Crowley dies. His close friends, I guess, this Gray State team, whoever these guys are, and we could talk about that too, but they're all quick to just snap their fingers and say that David Crowley's guilty, and that's it. Everybody's told to just move on. Don't worry about it. But you know what? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen until we get justice. And that's why Dan Hennon started a justice group for David Crowley, for his family, because we are going to do our best. If it's God's will, we're going to find out what really happened. But at the very least, we wanted to make sure that David's name is cleared, because there is no evidence that David Crowley is guilty of this crime. And that's what's so frustrating, because you have all of these people who were working with David, who were making a film, making this project about cops coming in, kicking down doors, taking people, shooting them. And then something like this, when things get real, then you really see who your real friends are. You see who your real family is. And that's what I look at now. And then you have people that were threatening us too, that were trying to intimidate us to this very day. They're still trying to play all these weird games when all that we're doing is asking the simple question, show me the evidence that David Crowley is guilty. And they can't do it. And they go, well, show us the innocent. Show us that he isn't guilty. And it's very simple. I can prove to you in 5 seconds that David Crowley is not guilty because nobody can prove that he is. And yeah, I hope that kind of sums it up there. I might have jumped the gun on a few things, but to me, it's very, very clear here what we are talking about. So I don't know if everybody has heard of this case, but what I'm finding is a lot of people don't even know about this case, and they've never heard of David Crowley, never heard of Gray State. Never heard of any of this stuff. Well, we are going to find out what happened here, whatever it takes, if it's God's will. And I have no fear. I have no fear when it comes to confronting these people, to calling them out, and to make sure that David Crowley's name is cleared. And it has to be, I want to make this clear too. I was not a fan of David Crowley. I was not a fan of his project either. But this is a slam dunk case. And for so many people in the alternative sector to turn their back on this after they supported David, after they cheered him on. But when things got real, they all went running. It's like cowards. So thank you, Eric, because you're not a coward. You've been covering this, and you have no fear in covering this when so many other people do. So thank you again, man.
Oh, you bet. And yeah, your passion is definitely appreciated and noted, Greg. This David Crowley is a slam dunk. This man, none of it adds up. In the second half of the show, I'll play a clip of a conversation I had with Mike from Nibiru News about this case, and he was familiar with it. Great station over there. I don't plug a lot of stations. Nibiru News is a very good one. But there were all kinds of anomalies, right down to the dog having a bag of dog food. I know when I've left my dogs home before, and it gets a little after supper time, and the bag, if we accidentally leave it on the ground, they're tearing into that sucker. So this dog who's starving knows what bag of food is in. Sitting right there on the counter, and the dog would have torn into it. That amongst a bunch of different anomalies. That one I just got excited about because I just discovered that within the last 6 months. And it seems like every time we look into whether it be this or Sandy Hook, which we can actually use that word on this network. And
that's not a censored word here.
I can censor. We don't have to say Sandbox. We don't have to say Penny Losner. We don't have to say Wolfgang Welbig. Throw off the algorithms.
That's funny.
Now, I was a fan of this movie because of what it was. People have said that movies like this have come out, but they haven't put the whole the whole picture together, right down to chipping people, forcefully chipping people, and how the spying is so overwhelmingly in your face that they're literally able to look at you while you're sitting in your living room watching a movie. Right. This is a fact, and this is people are not aware that that's to where it is now. We're basically living in see-through houses. In fact, and he was going to bring it all out, and there was no indication whatsoever that this guy was going to freaking off himself or his wife. They had a loving relationship, a wonderful daughter. This was either, we've spoke about it, this was either a case of MK Ultra mind programming, or this was a deep state hit. What do you think, Jeff? You with us?
Yep, I'm right here.
How familiar are you with this case? I think you are too, right?
Bill's here. Bill's here too.
And Billy Talon, give us your take.
Well, the scene that you're describing, the actual incident scene, looks like a carefully orchestrated, albeit sloppily executed, targeted killing.
Yeah.
Looks honestly like some of the stuff that I used to see back home with the Kadrovci, the secret police. Obviously, shot in the backs of the head, nice and clean, supposedly missing hands to prevent fingerprint identification, prevent gunshot residue testing, because if his hand had been intact, if his weapon hand had been intact, the coroners, the pathologists would have tested it. They would have swabbed it for gunshot residue, gunpowder residue, and they would have seen, oh, wait, there's no gunshot residue on his hand. So, yeah. But I've seen the trailers for Grey State. I've seen clips from Grey State. What the concept film that Crowley was attempting to make. Honestly, that one, like few other things, scared me. That kind of techno-surveillance super state that has just that absolute stranglehold over the lives, everyday lives of the citizenry. Somehow, if that was a completed movie, I can imagine Ramzan Kadyrov buying a copy, watching it in his presidential palace in Grozny, and furiously jacking his fat little cock off to the thought of having that level of control of the lives of the citizens. Oh, I'm sorry, not citizens. Citizens are free men. Subjects.
Well, it was definitely a professional hit, but I think everybody's looking in the wrong direction. I think the movie studio and the people that he was involved with were setting him up, and were keeping an eye on him. So he was under CIA deep state surveillance, and they were just in control of the situation. And finally, he caught on and was going to blow the whistle or something. Something came up.
Order came through.
I mean, they did it quickly, and they had no idea it was coming. So, he knew he was pushing a whole lot of buttons, and he had said that he had had death threats and all kinds of stuff. But I don't know. It was a pretty nasty hit, and to me, it looks more of the direction of the release of it and the thing that was going on with the movie, the people that were producing it with him. I think they got scared, and they had to shut him down right away.
Yeah, I see Bobby Vicarious. This man's name is Crowley, really? Yeah, isn't that interesting? I mean, just to add to the mysteriousness of the possibility of a complete psyop here, too. Are we seeing, gentlemen, some fortune-telling here of, say, what's going to happen in the 2020 elections with Trump and the libtard left, and what could happen to this country because of it? What do you think, Greg?
I think you might be on to something there. Definitely. I think that if David Crowley was here, I think he would be pointing out a lot of those things that we're talking about here. A lot of the libtard stuff, basically. So I think he would have been a big threat to what we are going to see here in the next year, probably in the next couple of years, because I do think Trump will win. And I think that is really going to I think it's, we've seen a lot of drama. We've seen a lot of problems. We see a lot of this weird stuff happening. I think it's just they're going to turn that volume up. And people better be ready, man. You better be ready. However you can.
The pressure cooker is definitely boiling, guys. I mean, my hometown is Dayton, Ohio. I grew up not far, about 10 miles from where the shit happened. And I'm telling you right now, the Oregon District, my dad helped produce the Oregon District to what it was because they had started out, it was a rundown neighborhood. And my dad got on council down there and used to do the fish fries for the church. And he was the head custodian for one of the major Catholic churches down there for 38 years. So he got in with all the townspeople, and they Jim Lehman. They said, would you help us do the Renew District? And so they started doing it down there. They redid that whole area and made it look like you were in New Orleans kind of stuff. And it looked beautiful, came out great. So they hit my hometown in a district my dad helped build,
Wow.
And look, I think Dayton was real. I don't think El Paso was. I think El Paso was completely. But see, the thing about Dayton is we have footage too of stuff that was posted in the paper for the next day and the day after. So it's hard to tell, man. But it looks like Dayton is more sporadically. It was more randomly done. But El Paso just looks like it might as well say SH and Hook and any other kind of Sandy anything, and there's 5 other things I can think of, not to mention San Bernardino.
San Bernardino.
Oh, really?
Remember when we did the big?
You just cut off the last 10 seconds. You were just cut off the last 10 seconds, Jeff.
The San Bernardino.
Yeah.
The SH Hook.
Yep. See, you're getting trained to do it too now.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. See, you know me, Eric.
Because Eric, we don't. If we continue to use the words, then the word never gets out. So we can still beat the algorithms. It still hasn't come to that point where we have been censored to the point where, well, maybe we are.
Yeah, because Eric, me. I don't punches on this stuff. I will talk about it. I'm doing that because I don't want to get us kicked off the channel. But I'm telling you right now,
we can say whatever we want on here on Revolution Radio, uncensored, and listeners.
You're the one that keeps throwing out the codes. You're the one that keeps throwing out the codes. So if Sandy Hook, listen to me. This stuff all has the same exact look as Sandy Hook and all the other stuff. So when you go down the run, there are too many things that just don't add up.
What about Ohio also?
Ohio and Gilroy. Don't forget about the Gilroy.
Well, like I said, Dayton, Beaver Creek. My dad engineered that district. I grew up in Beaver Creek. I grew up in Dayton, which is Beaver Creek's right up the road. It's 10 miles away. So, like I said, everything that had to do with my dad and that town, I recognized from my childhood, and they just turned it into a mess.
Did you check into the hospitals? That was the first thing that I've learned to look into is find out, if there were this many victims plus people injured, there would be a log of it and lots of people in a certain hospital in close proximity to where these things went down. Did you check it out?
I didn't, because I actually was going to go today and try and take footage of the president being there, and then they called the cancellation, and he wasn't actually going to Dayton. So I got all bummed out and didn't go, because I was going to go up there and shoot live video of everything going on and how it was going down. And there were supposed to be people picketing up there and doing stuff. But then all of a sudden they called it on Fox News and said that he decided he got to the airport and the mayor and somebody else, one of the other,
some lady from the city council
met him there and said it's insensitive if you go. He went to the hospital, but he didn't go down to the Oregon District where you can actually see anything. So I had to work today anyhow. So between working and trying to make that happen didn't work. But
right. Are you familiar with this? With these 2 newest shootings?
Yes.
Yeah, we are, both of us.
What about you, Greg?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What's your take?
Don't forget, there's 3. There are 3. There's
3.
Yeah, the whole Gilroy one that happened close here. I'm very close to where that happened. There were multiple shooters, and I made sure that I took as many screenshots, as many videos, backed all of that stuff offline, because this is what they do. The story always changes. It always starts with many shooters, and then it winds down to one. Now, the last one, the Dayton one, I do kind of agree with Jeff there too. There is something a little different about that. I haven't heard anybody talk about any multiple shooters, but it's kind of like the Orlando at the Pulse. The Pulse, it's a nightclub or something. So that was a couple. Yeah. And I was going to ask you guys too. Is there a pattern here? I mean, at what point do we say that there is a clear pattern here, that these are not just random things, that this is all part of a bigger program?
Well, I can answer that question for you. You know for sure it's a bigger program, but you can also go by, there's certain classifications that you have to follow with this, okay? First of all, what kind of weapon was used? If he used just some random llama pistol or something like that, those are instantaneous. Those are spur of the moment things. These guys are coming out with barrel, their ATF automatically comes out. It's a 223 long rifle, AR-15 style assault weapon with twin 50 cal barrel clips on it. Okay, come on, guys, listen. The shooter walks into a Walmart with an AK-47 and 4 clips. Okay,
it's called a mag, you idiots.
If you literally just do the homework as you're watching this stuff, some of it just doesn't add up. It's like, look, I know guys that have guns. I know guys that have ARs, all that other stuff. It's just the fact that every one of these nut jobs that wears, Coke bottle glasses and looks like Adam Lanza just happens to own an AR-15 with barrel clips. It's always got to be an upgrade from the last one. It always has to be, well, then he had that, and he has body armor. Oh, and he was, if you remember, Adam Lanza was 100 pounds soaking wet, and he had 130 pounds of gear on, was carrying, 2 9mm, a 45, a 357, 2 AR-15s, shotgun. They had so much stuff that they said he was on him, and then it comes down
we would have weighed Rambo down.
Right.
Rambo would have moved slower.
Totally impossible. Okay, and then I love
105 pounds soaking wet and freaking over 6 feet.
Same with the Batman shooter. Same with the Batman thing.
The Batman shooter.
Right.
Look, I'm trying. This is so ridiculous when you look at it, because then you look at this. In both incidences, how close do you have to be when a guy's spraying a 100-round clip and he only gets through half of it, and you dome this guy? For real? You dome this guy with body armor on in 13 seconds while he's firing into a crowd of people. That is some incredible timing, unless you're somewhere close.
On scene
waiting. On scene waiting, and you're waiting for it to go down and jump the gun a hair.
Yep, we've interviewed special forces guys who have said they could not fire at that rate with that proficiency themselves, and these are your top snipers.
Well, we're talking about the cops did this, dude. I don't know a cop that can shoot straight. No offense.
But when it comes to the sandbox, with the proficiency that this kid shot, they said they couldn't do it.
Yeah, there actually, you're exactly right. There was a whole video where the guy tried to do it in the amount of time before he was taken down, and he would have had to have been 98.5%.
Yeah, they keep getting that. They keep cutting them up.
He could do all this in less than 8 minutes or something, and it was some stupid thing. And the guy tried to do it, and he could only hit. And this guy was one of the biggest pros there was, and he could only hit 73.6%, and it took him 11 and a half minutes. So it's not possible. When things aren't possible, you have to do the math.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The two biggest things in history. Possible. Two biggest things that have proven every one of these theories for me is follow the money and prove the math. If you could go through either one of those things and something don't add up, it'll tell you that this stinks all over. And if the money, you'll follow it right to whoever's making money is where this stops.
Let's use this to go back to David Crowley and talk about that. He was getting the funding. His movie was just very close to being released when he supposedly suicided himself. That made no sense to me. What about you, Greg?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and that's why they tried to actually hide that. They tried to hide the fact that David was actually moving forward. There were certain people in the Gray State quote unquote team that were trying to tell us that there was no deal. The deal had fallen through, blah, blah, blah. He was at his wit's end. He didn't see any future. And so he just one day decided to just kill his kid, kill his wife, and then kill himself. No, I'm sorry. Not going to happen. We have over 1,000 pages of documents, hundreds of photos. Let me ask you guys, and I'll answer this question. How many of those documents, how many of those pages, how many of those photos prove that David Crowley is guilty? I'll answer, it's zero. Zero.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, and I mean, I'm telling you, if you follow the money on this case, it'll lead back to the movie studios, and the whole deal where it fell through and it didn't fall through and all that, that was all propaganda pushed to try and create the narrative that he committed suicide, right? But I'm telling you, they're the ones that are responsible. They're the ones that were behind his death. They were shutting him up because he was getting to the right thing. And when he finally got his launch date, knew it was going through, the people that were behind on the money probably got threatened. And the people, if you're holding the bank, a $30 million movie, and you start getting the fact that you're going to get your head cut off, and some Saudi oil people tell you better stop, and you don't, next thing you know, you find your dog stuffed in the blender in the kitchen. And you go like, well, what do I do now? Well, you got to shut him up, and you're not going to shut him up because he was going to tell a story.
We did, I think, three-part series on this a while back. Were you there too, Jeff?
Yes.
I think you were. They got thousands of hits. People were interested in it. People are interested in movies like this. And let's talk about the anomaly or the fact that Greg and Dan Hennon and others who have freaking two brain cells to run together are questioning why the people who were supposedly his brothers, people that he served in the military with, people that he was making this movie with, are sticking to the narrative that they're going to remember his buddy as somebody who flipped out, killed himself, killed his wife, and killed his young daughter. That's the way they want to remember him, and they're not pushing this movie forward. These are questions that I believe Greg and Dan have tried to get answered, and they won't show up to even talk to him. Now, isn't that interesting?
Well, Eric, do you want them to come and execute your whole family and everybody? These guys aren't stupid. They see what just happened. Do you think that they want the same thing? They're running.
Right. I mean, that's what I was pretty much getting at. It's interesting that
it tells its own story.
Well, was this movie, because we only got a short trailer of it. That's all we got for this movie. How deep did he go? Did he go deep into geoengineering? Was this included? Was the chemtrailing? Was the spraying? Was the stratospheric atmosphere aerosols being dispersed into the air? Were they talking about that? Were they talking about solar radiation management? How far did they go? How far down the rabbit hole did he go? They're showing people getting chipped, the mark of the beast. So I would say they probably went that far. We'll probably never know, will we?
There is one photo of a gray state, and hopefully it's still on their website. If not, we definitely have that. But it does show a bunch of people looking up, and in the sky you can clearly see trails. They are chem trails there. So I do believe David was going to talk about that. I think he was on to a lot of the stuff that you guys are covering, and I try to follow your guys' shows constantly as much as I possibly can, but I do believe he was going to be right in line with that stuff. And he had a good opportunity because he was a soldier, and during that time, there was a lot of soldier worship that was going on because of the wars and all of that stuff. So I do believe David was a big threat because he was not falling in line. He was not staying silent. And so when they came out and said that David Crowley had PTSD, and I'm like, you guys worked with him for 4 years, and all of a sudden you're going to tell us he had PTSD? Why would you work with somebody like that? No, they're making it up. These guys are shameful. These are shameful people. And the problem is they're still out there with the whole Gray State project. They tried to move forward with it. And thankfully, thank God that it failed. Thank God that it failed, because it wouldn't have been David's vision.
No, absolutely not. And I pray tell, ask anyone out there to show me. There's not even conspiracy movies about spraying going on in the sky. This is a subject that just is not freaking broached in any movie capacity whatsoever, other than independent films that have come out by heroes like Dane Wigington. But other than that, there really there's nothing. Show me a movie out there in Hollywood, anywhere, that deals with this. And that's just one aspect of what David Crowley was showing people: the chipping, the vaccinations, the Civil War, the freaking armed forces being turned against their own people, the people being snatched out of houses. And this was just in the trailer, being lined up and shot in the head. And this is somebody who was in the military, who did go over and serve. I believe he was in Afghanistan, correct, Greg?
He was in Afghanistan and Iraq. So he served in both.
Right.
He was right there in the heart of it.
I think most of us agree that the people who come back from the military, they're the most awake you can find, because they've been right there and seen what's going on.
Seen the workings of the machine.
Right.
That's right.
Bingo.
What I notice is, what's strange about this is how after his death they all come out and say, oh, he had PTSD, he had PTSD, he had PTSD. Well, here's my thing. Sometimes it can develop later on, sometimes years, even decades after a traumatic experience, but the warning signs are there. And for 4 years, nobody noticed anything. The guys that he had served with, the guys that he had been closest to while he was over there, the guys who, look, I'm a vet. When you serve with somebody in the trenches, ducking bullets together, side by side, you know that guy better than you know your own siblings in some cases. You know how he thinks, you know what he ate for lunch, you know what he worries about at night, you know the name of his wife or his girlfriend, who he writes his letters to. You know all these little things, all these little telling things about this person. And all of these people who were his brothers in battle, closer to him in some ways than his own family, and nobody noticed a freaking thing. Sorry, I am trying to control my language here. We have to keep some standard of decency.
Somebody asked you. Yeah.
You know what I just noticed? And there's no way this is right. There's no way this is right. This cannot be right. Because are you guys seeing this? Can you see the screen share?
Yeah.
So if I'm on the right one, there's no way it only has 58,000.
No, that's a different one. No, that's
it's a different one.
Yeah. Many people have taken that and all that, and
either a hack job or a mirror.
Yeah, basically.
Hey, well, I got one for you, Eric. So the day they released the
Okay, here we go. Is this it? No, movie indeed.
It'll say Gray State as the person who did it. I just want to say one thing about the soldiers is I do believe there are many soldiers out there who served with David that have helped us, that can help us, and that will in the near future will be able to help us. But I think you're spot on. The people that served with
Are you guys seeing what I'm
Go ahead.
seeing here, guys? Holy crap. Sorry for interrupting you, Greg, but why would I type in Gray State trailer or promo? Would that not be the first thing to come up?
Filter channels. If you just go to
Does that make any sense, though? I mean, Gray State.
Yeah.
Why would it bring us to...
They don't want you to see it.
Well, that's my point. Keep going, Greg. My bad. I spoke out loud there.
No, you're totally right on that. And of course, that trailer that we're looking at now, a lot of that is for the documentary that came out later. Yeah. So that's the right one. If you go, I think that's the right one there.
Okay, I was like 58,000. Wait a minute. Last time I looked at it had over 2 million. Now it's over 3 million.
Yeah. 3 million. Now, the only problem with that is that the same people that claim David Crowley is guilty are the ones that are actually running that. And every time people watch that, they're making money off of it. So I'm glad that there's many people that are whatever, they're copying that video. I don't want my money, my views going to those people that think David Crowley is guilty.
They didn't even finish the movie they were working on with him.
No, David cut them out. They were not going to be part of it. They were, and that was their big problem. was that David was moving forward, and they were not moving with him. They were not going to be a part of it.
There's your motive.
There's your motive. You're right.
Absolutely,
You're right.
it is. You would think they would pick up the ball and finish out the movie in memory of him.
They had tried, but how do you
Right.
do that?
I've seen.
How do you say somebody is guilty, but hey, we're going to make this movie because of money?
Didn't they say it was going to be completed a few years ago, if I remember correctly?
Oh, yeah. It was almost done when he died.
Danny Mason, was that his name?
Yeah, Danny Mason tried to actually move forward with it. He tried to pitch it to the same people that David was actually working with, and thankfully they said no because it was tainted. By that time, nobody's going to touch this. You know what I mean?
Offered to talk to him and others that were close to him, haven't you? You tried to reach out and actually talk to them.
I was supposed to debate him, and I don't know whatever happened. He just kind of fell off. He probably realized that he would lose because there's no way that anybody can stand there toe to toe with me and tell me and explain to me why David Crowley is guilty. Can't happen.
You've had like the next door neighbor just completely take for some odd reason, an way overactive interest in this and come onto the page. And I what was her name?
Judy.
Judy.
Judy Prochnow. Yeah. She's my biggest fan, apparently.
That have happened, and with the person's clearly, you know, she's nuts. She's freaking squirreled. She's buck nutty, and this is who they have defending, and that's like a lot of the families when we look at the Sandbox. Is that, I mean,
same thing?
Freaking right,
Yeah.
right. So many anomalies there too. We could talk all night about that, but I want to. I know. How much time do you have, Greg?
I could probably go another 20, 30 minutes.
Okay, the break's coming up in about 6 minutes here, so let's get a little bit more in that you want to concerning this case. Anything new that's come up, because you know that I've followed this pretty closely. I'm not even looking at Cliff Notes right now. That's when you know a case pretty well. Go for it.
Well, we did have a private investigator, and I was hoping Dan Hannon could have joined this. I think because of his schedule, he wasn't able to. But we hired a private investigator. The private investigator turned out to just be another person who really was not going to do any real research. So at this point, I am strongly thinking about hiring a real private investigator to actually investigate this case, not to just read some of these documents and to just think whatever the cops say that is true. You know, we need somebody who can help us get the case reopened. That is the main goal here. That is my main goal here, to clear David's name. Phase 2 is to figure out who done it, blah, blah, blah. But phase 1 is really to get the case reopened, renamed, so that and here's the craziest thing. Even in these documents, there's nowhere that says David Crowley is guilty. Here is what they say, why David Crowley is guilty, because they couldn't find any evidence that anybody else did this. That's not good enough. And if people know that, the more people know that, the more people start thinking the same way we are thinking, that there is no way that David Crowley is guilty. And if there is, then show us the evidence. And if you don't have it, then just say that, and don't accuse a United States soldier who served in 2 of the most vicious wars ever in our lifetime. Don't accuse him of something like this. It's treason. It's
Police were pretty quick to call this case a murder-suicide, weren't they?
Within 24 hours.
In 24 hours. That's pretty quick.
24 hours.
We have a question. Who made the trailer after he died? It says credits show A&E Indie Films. Oh, that's because hold on, let me put this one in there.
That's a documentary. Trailer. Yeah, that's the trailer for Eric Nelson's documentary that Dan and I were both in. We told them everything. They put us in there for 30 seconds. They did not want to hear about a bullet hole that the police missed. We have all of these people inside of David Crowley's house. Nobody looks up and sees a bullet hole above their head. They have to learn about it 1 month later because somebody tells them. They don't find a bullet that rolls out of the carpet that is tied to David's daughter until 2 days after these bodies are found because somebody tells them that there is a bullet there. We got problems. But really, they got problems. We got them right where we want them.
Some thoughts, Jeff and Billy Talon, before we go to break? We got about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, the tree you're climbing has got a whole lot of ugly people on the other side that don't want this to come out. And I guarantee you, if you find out it's probably of Saudi descent that probably sent the message. And when they send a message, they execute your whole family. So that's when you follow the money. What I found out when I was looking at it, a couple years back, is that it looked like it was Saudi descent, and it looked like it was all based on release of information that they didn't want to go out.
Yeah, the MO matches with Arab and traditional Arab and Caucasian vendetta methods. This is the same kind of stuff that we used to see. Like I said earlier, it's the same kind of stuff I used to see with the Kadrovci, the secret police back home under the occupation.
And
this is one of the more notable cases back home was a journalist named Anna Politkovskaya, and she had done a great deal to illuminate evidence of Russian human rights abuses in the Caucasus during the wars. And then one day, coming home from her work, she went into the elevator to her apartment, and apparently, somehow, while she was...
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And welcome back to the Sentinels Truth on Revolution Radio, listener supported completely. Keep free alternative media alive where we can still say words as they're meant to be said and not try to use tricky words to avoid the algorithms. We're talking about false flags. We're talking about David Crowley in Gray State. We're talking about the sandbox. And we're also talking about whatever Greg would like to talk about because he's only got about 20 minutes with us. So I want you to lead the way, Greg.
Well, I would just hope that people who have never heard about David Crowley, if you've never heard about this case, please take some time to look into this. Look at the photos. Look at these documents. And come to your own conclusion, not based on what I say, not based on what anybody else says. But I have faith. People look at the documents, look at these photos. Once you start going down this rabbit hole, you will clearly see that there is no way that anybody could ever prove that David Crowley is guilty. So why are so many people acting like he is? And it's very important that this is just one person. I've never seen a case like this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen anything like this. We've looked at a lot of other cases. There are some that are similar, but nothing ever like this that I've seen. I don't know. Have you guys seen anything similar to this? Maybe Philip Marshall or something?
No. I've seen a couple of them actually, but they were always on. What was that? Not Believe It or Not, but the one that had Stacy Keach narrating. I can't think of it. They used to talk about, the intertwisted spouse that went off and did some stuff like this, and they made it look like something else, or the evil friend. Like, there's always 50 other ways you could twist this one. But the problem that you got is, it's just so nasty and such a mark that it kind of speaks for itself. It's kind of hard to put that much flair when you talk about kids, everything. I mean, just the whole thing left the way it is. It's done intentionally like that. That's not an accident.
That's a message.
That's a message. And
what's the message?
The message is leave it alone.
Leave it alone or you're next.
Right. That's the message. That's what they're saying. I mean, those people talk real plain.
Same as the
You know,
Kadarovci.
I've been a tow truck driver for 30 years, done repo work all my life. I know those people. Okay, those people, when they send a message, they hit your whole family like that. That everybody else walks away from it because everybody else gets scared.
It's an albatross.
Right. It's like you've done pinned a target on your back. If you want to keep moving with that target, you're gonna. I'm just telling you. That's a plain as day marker. There was no ands, ifs, or buts. The first second I saw it, I was like, they executed him and they left the message. Don't come down this road. You hit a nerve, and the dentist is there to take the nerve out. That's it. That's all it came down to. I mean, this is literally the mafia style hit because of money and touchy information being passed to the wrong person. Somebody took it offensively and said, just shut it down.
What do you guys think about David putting the Freemason garb in his 2012 trailer? Do you think that might have put a target on him?
The whole thing's a target. The problem is which part of it was the target. See, the two things that you have to look at, and I've said this a billion times, go find where the money sources were coming from and who they led to. And the second thing to do with that is go watch, find whatever parts of the movie and do the research. There is a nerve in that movie somewhere that somebody didn't want to get seen. It's kind of like when you're watching the movie and all of a sudden you find out like the senator gets killed and it gets caught on video, and then they have to go around and find the last copy before anybody sees it, because if they nail you. When you're dealing with this kind of stuff, you're talking about $30 million. They kill kids on the corner for a pair of Nikes. MS-13 will hit somebody for $500 and put another tattoo on their shoulder. It's marked in different currency now. You don't need anything to whack a family. All you have to do is hire a couple MS-13 guys, drop them $5,000. They'll hit your whole family, burn the house, and rape the dog. And do it on video. And go to jail for it. Like, it's just crazy, the stuff that happens now. They'll do it on video and go to jail and take the full time so that their family's set for life in another way. Like, it's just crazy.
And none of us are saying that the dog was raped, by the way. It
was a joke. It wasn't a joke. It was just a statement of fact. They will absolutely do anything to make it stick.
Oh, did you hear Jeff said they raped the dog? And these people are nuts. They said the dog got raped the whole time. It was gang raped. And
well,
when just the way these people twist stuff, man, it's crazy. Okay, my bad.
It's legal.
Yeah, it's legal in Canada now.
Say it again.
If
it was done in Canada, it would be legal.
As long as it's alive. As long as it's alive.
Is that right? Please tell me that's not true.
They just passed it. As long as it's alive. Now, if it's dead, it's bestiality.
You've got to be kidding me.
Or necrophilia. Sorry. Necrobestiality.
What? Okay. What?
What's going on in Canada?
Oh, whoa, really?
They're obviously they're letting
background.
Well, I mean,
no. Yeah.
Trudeau, necked.
Trudeau. Yeah, okay. That explains it all. That's all you had to say.
Trudeau.
The phone party geek.
What the hell?
Hey, sorry, did you hear the latest? I got one for you. I got to throw at you real quick. So, it came out today. The Smithsonian Institute announced that chemtrail spraying is real, and the head of chemtrails is Bill and Melinda Gates and the Gates Foundation with 15.
How nice.
With 15 countries backing them through their efforts of vaccination. They have united with them, and now they're going to start spilling the truth about it.
That's shocking that they're behind it. Whoa.
Well, you always wanted validation. There's your validation. Smithsonian Institute.
Validate 300 patents for geoengineering is my validation.
Yep. Allow me to quote Paul Joseph Watson here. Imagine my shock.
Then the next one is you talked about the government was spying on us, right? Well, check this out. Now they've got these big, huge drone balloons floating around with 360-degree hover cameras, right? These cameras shoot 360-degree full on panoramic view while hanging from a balloon.
You sure do cut out at interesting times.
Am I out?
No, you just cut out like briefly when you were talking about balloons. A bit of like 5 seconds cut out. Say it again.
they got these weird white balloons that they're hanging these 360-degree cameras from because they found with no motor on it doesn't create any vibration, so they can get pure video, and they do a 365-degree video of the entire everything. I mean, it's LiDAR and everything.
What are balloons? Like, are they blimps? What are they?
Yeah, multi whatever he said.
Are they unmanned?
Yeah, they're
Yes.
unmanned.
Just cameras
Control from the ground.
Yeah,
they're like drone blimps, basically.
and
Well,
they can.
it's not a blimp; it's an aerostat.
Yeah, but
It
yeah,
has no
it's
motor. It has no propulsion.
It's a big balloon that has like I think they have some way of like directing it in the
A
air.
remote control balloon.
Yeah. So anyhow,
It's like a
You know what?
sailboat.
That would have shocked me like 4 years ago.
yeah, but they got a 365-degree HD camera that can pick up everything.
Hey.
So when it grabs everything and starts recording, it records everything indefinitely while it's up there. So it's a live stream of everything that's moving, and they said they can actually zoom in with it. It's so clear that they can zoom all the way down to reading a newspaper laying on the ground from all the way up there.
Right. Now, can they
Now-
say that they have the technology to see into houses, or have they gone that far yet?
Yeah, they yes.
thermal imaging,
Not great.
LiDAR,
LiDAR and
infrared.
thermal imaging, yes.
Who's all paying for this? Who's paying for this?
The tech companies, the big tech companies, Google and Amazon and all these big companies are all paying for all this to get done.
This is like some of the this is Orwellian nightmarish crap we're living in right now, people. And this is back to what David Crowley was trying to tell us in his movie.
Ready Player One.
I will say one thing though regarding these surveillance aerostats. Apparently, they're on too low of a budget to use helium or other such lifting gases, so they're filling them with hydrogen. To that, I have only one thing to add. Fox 2, Fox 2.
You're going down. So guys, I'm just telling you, it's just the multiple. You were just talking about the cable box watching you. We've been talking about Atlantic's cable boxes watching this since the late 80s, early 90s, right? Now we've got 365-degree, hot air balloons floating around, the hydrogen-filled balloons floating
Right.
around.
That doesn't even shock me, but this is the first I've heard. How about you, Greg?
Yeah.
And let's not forget the fact that
Not
they're
that
also
it shocks me. We know the drones have this technology already. We see drones, so
I think Alex Jones was talking about this for a while. Well, he was talking about blimps
Right.
and stuff like that, but it's all tied. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's all these 5G towers, right? These big towers that look like trees, and I'm just supposed to think that these are real trees. No, we're not supposed to notice it. It's just ridiculous, and they're everywhere.
Well, they look like trees except for one difference.
What's that?
The mountains of dead bees surrounding them.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
very good
regarding the
point.
balloons, there's one other piece of equipment that they are also furnished with. A high-fidelity directional laser microphone, which can be pointed at the ground and using the vibrations of sound waves in air can pick up a conversation between two people as low as 40 decibels.
Wow.
So if you are whispering to someone right next to you in the middle of a crowded city street, they can hear it, even if everybody else is screaming at metal concert levels.
They've been able to use laser audio and basically a pane of glass. They can just shine an infrared laser, and instead of having color on it, they have a pair of glasses they put on, and it makes you see the beam, but you wouldn't normally see the beam because it's out of spectrum. And so they just hit a window pane, and then they plug a set of earphones into it. It's basically like a light speed two-sided listening device that can pick up the vibration right off the window pane glass and send it all back to them. They can listen to everything that you're talking about. It's crazy. And that's old technology.
This is stuff that's been around since the 1990s. It's just that this platform gives them a new utility for deploying it.
Sounds like they've been radiating us, and you might tie this rise in cancers to some of the stuff that you guys are talking about.
Well, I would be looking for that, especially over the heartland belt from, say, Indiana, Illinois, down to Texas.
All the wind turbines.
Yep. Well,
We can go in 5G world too now if you want to talk about that kind of stuff.
Oh, you conspiracy theorists.
Okay.
Okay, guys, grab your tinfoil.
I got my stock and Reynolds wrap, boys.
Just remember, you have to make your own aluminum foil deflector beanie. You can't use the store-bought ones because oftentimes they put listening devices and mind control chips in them.
Oh,
Wait,
wow.
this makes the this makes the Snowden releases a few years ago seem like child's play. It's just, and it's ramping up. It's going on all around us still, and Trump has signed on to this, and we're gonna have to hold on to faith that he's still the true resistance.
Boy, I can tell you this: it's going to be a bumpy road, and with as hard as I mean, we kept kind of figuring that these libtards would just like roll over and play dead like the little wussies that they were supposed to be, but these are like the claw scratching, fingernail grabbing, digging, biting, psycho ex-girlfriend that you've been trying to stomp for a week just to get away from you because she won't leave you alone, and she's like literally screaming in your ear with a beer mug up against your head, beating you with it. Like, this is crazy what these people are. These people are like, you come out and you find your vehicle in 4 flats, all the windows knocked out of it, and you're listening to Carrie Underwood. Like, what are you doing, people? This is so ridiculous. And then they'll turn ridiculous into something that's even beyond ridiculous. Like, the half flags mast means 88. You're a racist. Crazy Southern race. 88. What does 88 mean?
Apparently, it means Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler, yeah. 88 means Heil Hitler, and somehow half mast on the 8th day means
eighth day of the 8th month.
8th month of the 8th day means you just decided to be Hitler for that day. What is it? What? Like the North Star aligned in my Cadillac.
And they call us conspiracy theorists.
All
But the
right.
question is, are the masses awake enough? I believe that around the world they're way more awake than most Americans, because with the censorship we're seeing now, especially with El Paso and Ohio and what was the other one?
Garlic
Right.
Festival in California, Gilroy, California.
Right, all 3 of those. That just kind of came and went real quick.
See, here's what gets me about
that.
Eric, here's what gets me about that. As soon as the deep state realized that this Epstein thing, this your country is run by Satanist pedophiles thing wasn't going away,
Right.
they had to find a way to distract the public consciousness, which, as we all know, the average unenlightened citizen has the attention span of a flea on meth. So, mass shooting, mass shooting, mass shooting, mass shooting.
Yeah.
Alt-right
Absolutely.
protests, mass shooting.
But he's a liberal, but he's a Democrat. No, he was a Democrat, except for he had patches of Antifa. He's the only Republican, Antifa member.
The one in El Paso they were trying to bill as a white supremacist was Latino. He wasn't even white.
I guess what I'm saying, guys, with all these shootings is that since Sandy Hook got station, 500,000 views, bang, taken down. We're not even. You don't see any interviews with Wolfgang Halbig anymore, because if you even do an interview with him, they'll freaking zap your station. So now people that aren't as awakened are being led to believe, because of the censorship, that all these shootings are indeed. None of them are hoaxes. They're all for real. Even when we're trying to show documents. Greg, we had some documents on last week from a company called Crisis Cast.
Mhm.
Have you heard of this company?
No, I have not. Who's that?
Blew our minds, the connections. We took it all the way up to a company called Hydra.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
International police force that
Hail Hydra.
leads back to Crisis Cast, which supplies crisis actors in real life situations with real doctors, real psychologists. They control the media. This is an actual company called Crisis Cast
Wow.
that holds the key to all the right.
And they run it all. When they take over,
But
they
there's no
say-
debating it anymore. So how many shootings are going to come up? I guess my question is, guys, do you believe that people are awake enough to not just take all these for what they're worth, what the mainstream media says?
Yes, I do. I've seen as far as my family, friends, and people that I know personally. A lot. It's every time that these things happen, I get the same questions. And I think unfortunately, the more that these shootings and these crazy things happen, the more that it does help people actually wake up and really start to think, well, okay, there's no way that these could all just be random things. There's something else going on here. There is a program. And anybody that understands computers can see this is a program.
But I want to give away my guns because I feel so much safer without any guns to stop this. Because I know that if I give up my guns, no one else will ever have any.
A week ago, you were saying that America is run by super Hitler and triple Nazis, and now you want to give away your guns to super Hitler and triple Nazis? Suka, пожалуйста.
Well, the logic is completely out of control and nutty, and the whole time thing too. What's that?
You say that he's rounding people up and putting them in concentration camps. Well, how are you going to stop him from rounding people up and putting them in concentration camps?
Yeah, let me steer you back. Oh, go ahead. Finish up.
Yeah, you just gave up the only safeguard you really had against exactly that.
That, your butter knife, a can of hairspray.
Let me steer you guys back to Gray State, to another one of the facets of the movie that he was trying to expose, is that I thought if our borders became overrun, that's why these 600 open and operational FEMA camps that everybody seems to have forgotten about are sitting empty still, but they still can be fully staffed and they're fully operational. What are they there for?
Apparently not for the border crisis.
That's what they were built for originally, though. Isn't that interesting? They're not even being used for that.
Used for border. Actually, they are housing people in border crisis is actually going to some of the FEMA camps. They're just not announcing it. There's already been 3 or 4 FEMA camps they've been to. Right,
but with 600, why wouldn't they just all be going to the same central location instead of being sectioned off into different?
Well, because they're all over the country already. It depends.
Right. That's why there's 600 FEMA camps all over the country too, isn't there?
There's 2,800, but
20.
Well, that's counting the auxiliary facilities,
right?
Commandeered from their initial.
That should raise some eyebrows as to why most of these are still sitting empty. What's your thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, definitely. I think they were built for a reason. They keep them going for a reason, and I think they're for us. That's what it's really going to come down to. I don't know if it's just something to just create fear. I'm not sure what the whole purpose is. When you talk about these people that are so willing to give up guns, a lot of those people don't even have guns. Right. They've never fired a gun. They don't want to have guns. So they don't care that that our government is trying to take our guns. But it's not going to happen. It isn't like there's only certain people that can build guns. If you know what you're doing, you can too.
In my country, we used to make machine pistols out of scrap metal and toasters.
Which country are we talking about?
Chechnya.
Okay.
Ever heard of the Bors, the Chechnyan firecracker?
No. What's that?
Scrap metal in a toaster made into a crude but effective machine pistol.
There you go. Yeah. There's always a way.
You want to know my first interaction on not on YouTube, but on the net with Chechnya? There used to be a site called Ogrish, and they showed like beheadings. Daniel Pearl was on there, which it no longer exists anymore. It's been taken off. They showed a Chechnyan soldier being beheaded. Yeah. And I started studying Chechnya, going, whoa. What happened over here? We don't hear much about this.
No, you don't. For obvious reasons, the Russian government does not want people to know about the rampant human rights abuses that go on to this day. I've been out of that country for about 10 years. About 10 years now. I got out in early 2009. And I am very fortunate that I did, because if I went back today, I would probably be executed as a traitor.
Chechnya is like a dysfunctional version of Russia, isn't it?
The dysfunctional northern Irish Mexico of Russia.
Wow. That's a mouthful. But accurate.
Well, hey, so let me ask you a question, Eric. Remember when we were back talking about all this stuff, right? What was the first place that they turned into a FEMA camp?
I'm not sure. I'm going to make a guess.
All local Walmarts could be evacuated.
Right.
And they were fencing off the parking lot. But did you notice that we've had two shootings at Walmarts? Okay, two events. We'll call them false flag events. One happened about 2 years ago to Walmart. Now I got another one that happened at a Walmart. So unless you're shopping for the deplorables, seriously, I mean, they already said where you find deplorables is at Walmart. Walmart funds all of these bunkers and these FEMA camp shelters, and they assist FEMA constantly, and they assist Homeland Security constantly with their buildings. And if tomorrow if there was a crisis, they turn a Walmart center into a water drop and stuff for FEMA instant. Walmart donates it 100%, and they give away everything in the building. And they don't even dispute it. Shove everything in the dumpsters, give away all the food, walk out the building, and let FEMA take it over. It's within 24 hours. They can have 100 semi-trailers in the docks moving the stuff out and cleaning up, and within 24 hours they can liquidate a Walmart. I know because I work for them. We pick up coolers for them, and when they tell us to go get something, we drive a truck over, we pick it up, and you can't believe Sam's Club and Walmart, they're huge places. You walk in there, it costs like $3.5 million to stock a store. They will wipe a $3.5 million store out tomorrow, and they don't even blink.
It's like that scene in, has anyone seen the movie Lord of War with Nicolas Cage? It's like that scene where he lands the airplane and he starts giving out all the guns to get rid of them before the weapons inspector arrives. Bullets, guns, grenades, hooray!
They give it all away.
And you see that within 24 hours, a little time-lapse montage, and they've stripped the damn thing down to the point where there's not even a plane left. They ripped out all the structural members of the plane. Everything's gone.
Yeah,
same thing.
It looks like a brand new Rolls Royce that went through Atlanta and sat down on the street in Atlanta for about 10 minutes. It's stripped. It's sitting on a carcass.
Like a cube of meat dropped on an anthill.
Wow.
And Grigory,
but
if I may posit a small theory regarding the FEMA camps and the border thing.
Yes.
What I am beginning to think about is the possibility that this manufactured border crisis is meant to be a test run of these facilities. They want to test and make sure that they have the ability to house and detain that certain targeted number of individuals for that indefinite length of time. And in order to do so without alarming the general populace, they're doing this test run utilizing illegal migrants coming across the Mexican-Canadian borders.
Right.
Yep. Because first they come for them, then they come for us.
You.
Yep.
That's right.
And nobody's left to speak for you.
That's right.
Been there, seen that, done that. Not
because it's a program. It's a program.
Yep, they're following the same script. Same script. The tune may change, the steps may change, but the song and dance remains the same.
That's right. They're not counting on people like us.
Yeah, and I've seen this. I've seen this happen before in half a dozen other countries. I've seen it happen in my homeland. I've seen it happen in Libya. I've seen it happen in Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, the former Yugoslavia. I've seen it happen in Ukraine. I've seen it happen in Venezuela. I've seen it happen in Thailand during the Shinawatra crisis. And every night I pray to whatever's up there listening that it doesn't happen here. But it's becoming obvious that that's a fool's hope. We are going to see it. I am almost certain that we are going to see it in my lifetime.
Everybody watch gold. If you see gold spike, it's already gone up $100 in a week. If you see gold spike and go up $2,500, $3,000, they're going to crash the economy. Gold is always the trend that changes everything. So if you ever watch anything, watch gold. If you see gold spike, you better get your guns out and get ready because shit's getting ready to hit the fan.
Yep, that's right. And if you're in Cali, stock up now. You know, you should have stocked up a couple of weeks ago before they passed that new law.
Years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Oro y plomo, las currencias nuevas de la millennium.
Which means?
Gold and lead, the currencies of the new millennium.
Yes.
I put it in Spanish for our Latino audience in California.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's,
I have a skill with languages. I figure I should use it.
yes, please. Somebody needs to, right?
Bill can speak about 9 languages. He's crazy.
Is that right? That's very impressive.
Yeah, it is too, because I'll be out going to lunch, and the next thing you know, he's talking, some crazy dialect. I don't even understand what he's doing. He's over there. We're getting euros, and he's talking, Serbian, or he's talking Chechen or Arabic or whatever. And I'm like, dude,
Those guys are Palestinians. They speak Arabic.
This is what happens when we don't have Lori Alexander here to balance us. Thanks.
Uh-oh.
Sorry,
You
Lori.
guys are on our side. Yeah.
it's great though, because now I know what everybody's thinking, even when they don't. I know. Because all I got to do is say, Bill, what'd he say? And he'll go, oh, this is what he said. It messes him up because Bill doesn't look like he could understand a thing that they were saying.
That's great.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. But
Yeah, you guys are tow truck drivers. Is that
no,
what I heard? Repo?
I did repo work and stuff for years, but now we're in the wholesale business right now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, with that whole repo thing, man, you must have some really good stories. I'd love to hear those some other day. But
I've got some crazy ones.
I'll put
I'm
it this
sure.
way. Everybody's laughing till the white kid speaks Arabic.
Yeah,
that changes the game.
I've been shot
We're just
twice.
laughing until they come out and their car's getting freaking towed away.
Hey, I've been shot twice doing this work, so I'm good at getting in and getting out, and I still over 30 years still got hit twice. And
I always thought that'd be exciting work.
I've probably been
honestly.
shot at about 80 times.
I've seen some YouTube videos on that stuff. It's pretty. Yeah. I would not do it. I could not do it. Takes
Yeah, there's been a whole series on TV about repo shops and the thing. They're dumbed down too. Are they dumbed down, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the shows.
Wow.
The shows are BS
Because they're controlled more because there's freaking cameras and stuff.
Well, no, dude, the shows are
Are they
staged.
scripted? Yeah,
They're scripted. They're staged.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. You look. There's nowhere that a repo man touches a person or body slams them or sits on them or does any of that kind of stuff, unless now I will tell you, I have shared my fights. I have knocked people out. I have been hit in the head with a golf club. I've been hit in the head with a 2x4. I've had my share of go rounds. Okay, so I'm not saying there isn't fights.
Right. Well, judging from what you're saying, then they could be real.
Yeah.
But no, what I'm saying is most of the time you don't even know I'm there. I can get your car in 30 seconds usually. I can come in, back up with a dynamic autoloader wheel lift truck, hit it, pick it up, and move it in 30 seconds.
Okay. They'll come in with like a bullhorn. They'll be like, "We're coming to pick up your car and take it.
Right.
You haven't paid."
It's kind of like the whole Walmart thing.
Get them to come out so they can get a shoe. Sure. Okay.
It's called that's fake, and the stuff that we do, we slip in there at 3:00 in the morning. We grab the car and leave, and you're
crisis cat. Oh my God. Greg, the last video we uploaded on the Spitfire Sentinel channel tells you all about Crisis Cast, Hydra.
I'm gonna go watch it.
World Police Force.
Yeah, it's
Commanders.
crucial.
It's all linked with the Carlisle Group.
I can't believe I missed that.
Management.
Show.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
In fact, Jeff, people are begging us to do a follow-up on it.
Well, we need
So
to,
we
and
gotta
I'm going
do
to tell you what, that's what I was going to talk about a little bit tonight, because Jeffrey Epstein's being swept under the rug. All of this child trafficking and all this stuff going on that has to do with Hydro, has to do with Crisis Cast, has to do with all this, because all these people are linked to the same people, okay? They're all the same people doing this. This is a multiple leg of their wave, and this is how they get away with it. They create enough havoc and strife. They do it in multiple places during the same amount of time, and nobody can keep their eye on the ball. That's all.
Why is Homeland Security linked to a company called Crisis Cast? You know what I mean? I mean, these are very obvious things that they're putting out. They're laughable.
I don't even have to go home. There's things that I go, what the, I'm like, really? Like, you can't even G4S Securities, Omar Mateen, the Orlando nightclub shooting.
Let me have you pause real quick right there, Jeff. Have you heard of G4S Security? Greg?
No.
They've been in a lot of these events.
Okay.
Do they wear khakis and black shirts?
They wear black jeans or black slacks, and then they have like a white shirt or a red shirt or a tan shirt, and it says G4S security on it.
Oh, great! So they're black and tans.
Yeah. No,
they were red burqas if it's in New Zealand.
But all I'm telling you, so you follow these people, and they come back to the Carlisle group. They come back to being security. They actually just took over last year of all of the security for the House of the Lords and for the Queen and all that stuff, and for Buckingham Palace. They're in charge of all the security. And this company has had more problems, more espionage problems, more losses of like private individuals where they've been hit, and everything else, take out teams and everything under the sun. This company has had more bad security than 10 companies, and they still get the contracts.
Hey guys, I could talk to you guys all night long if I didn't have to get up early tomorrow and get back to work. It's really been a pleasure, Jeff and Brian. I've really followed your guys's, what you guys do here, and I just keep up the great work, Eric. And always, man, you're my brother in Christ, man. I really appreciate everything you've done to really help us when nobody else would. When nobody else wanted to talk about David Crowley, when they were all scared, you were not scared. Thank you, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. It's always awesome.
You be careful too. We got your back, and we all got prayers on you. But just know these people playing with you.
He made it into a little documentary that was on with Netflix. Actually, I mean, Anna were actually in it. So
that's right.
They're as you they're balls deep into this stuff, and that you have to be. I mean, you cannot just be half. You're just half in.
Hey man, I just go wherever God tells me to, and for whatever reason, I've been called to follow this, and whatever God's will is, I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see it through. Nothing's gonna stop us. So I appreciate you guys. God bless you all. Have a great night. I'm going to jump off here.
Muchas gracias, Señor Fernandez. A su tiempo precioso.
All right, I will work on my Russian so I
can
me too.
Speak a
little more with you, brother.
Thanks again, Greg. Yeah, bless, and let's get together again soon. Anytime you see that we're on Revolution Radio, you see we're on Skype, just freaking hit me up, and you can come on anytime you like.
Nice, man. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely, brother.
Gracias, señor. Buenas noches.
Be careful.
Buenas noches. Thank you. All right. Have a good night. God bless you all.
Vaya con Dios, amigo.
Great. Yeah, Greg is well versed in false flags and a lot of the things that we look into. So it's always awesome having him on.
Well, Eric, I'm telling you right now, that's awesome, and he's got a bad road to move on this one. I know that video. We watched it several times. I paid attention to it pretty good, and the people that did this stuff were directly connected to Obama and the Clintons. They were
the Saudi government.
The Saudi government. They were all funding movies that were being done and this and that. And all they do is move the money to the wrong person. They get the deal signed and everything. They think it's all good, and then all of a sudden, somebody that they were getting the money from goes, "What? No, you go get my money back, or you terminate this," and then it just becomes a show when you start saying, "Oh, we're not going to fund your movie after we've done it because we've got it in writing that we've done this, and this," and so it gets all back and forth, and before you know it, somebody says, "Listen, man, I'm not going to pay for this. Go kill these people," and that's what happened, and they were executed over this movie, 100%. I mean, there's no ands, ifs, or buts.
Agreed. Why don't we talk a little bit for the tail end of the show here about these recent shootings a little more in depth?
Yeah, that's fine. I want to cover Epstein a little bit too.
Well, yeah, start with Epstein and then let's finish off there.
Okay. Listen, guys, this guy has been blacked out now. No media on Epstein now for 5 days. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is a week going on a week now where they haven't had to report on where is he, how's he doing, what's happened, what's going on with the case, where's the investigations going. This is crucial, and this is false flag cover up right here. This is what you call they put on a show so they keep you distracted. So how long are they planning on doing this before you'll hear a blurb? Epstein was released on bail. last night at midnight for a $27 million or some stupid number, right? And his passport was taken just to make you feel better about yourself. Then they can set up and engineer the hit on him or something like that.
In U.S. territory, he doesn't need a passport to go there.
Right. I mean, just there's all kinds of stupid things that can happen here. All I'm saying is what is going on and why all of a sudden has this taken precedence and none of the rest of it is even part of the story. Like, they've completely just forgot about it, hoping that now when they come back, this will blow under the rug. That when they come back, we are now going back to regularly scheduled program, and they're not talking about shootings. So what are they talking about? Oh, the races and the football games or whatever else is going on. But are they going to bring Epstein up again? Are they going to try and keep this buried for as long as they can to keep the heat off of it? Dude, I'm telling you, that's major number one. Two, if you remember, the FISA docs were supposed to drop. We've got 2 memos coming out and a FISA doc that's supposed to drop, and it still hasn't dropped. So,
well, I actually did hear an update about the Epstein case today. Apparently, they unsealed the indictments against him. 1 million pages of evidence.
Isn't that funny how that wasn't spread around too many places?
1 million pages
of evidence.
How much do you have to do to accumulate that much that you need 1 million pages? That's 6 zeros to cover it.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what they're doing. They've got to cover this up, and they've got to shut everybody up that's involved. We've got half the New York PD that was involved in busting Wiener's laptop, and all the stuff that went on with Anthony Weiner and Uva Abedin and stuff. 7 of them are dead. One of them just committed suicide in the bar in front of 100 people. He got a phone call. He put the gun to his forehead and shot himself.
Put the phone down, picked up his service arm, suck started it.
Right in the bar, right in front of 100 people. Now, what do you have to do? Who are you threatening? What family members?
Who did you have to piss off?
Who not only did you have to piss off, except for you've got 7 of these cops that committed suicide. What did they tell you when he got on the phone and they said, "Well, we're going to execute your whole family, just like this guy that wrote this movie. We're going to execute your whole family, or you're going to suck the barrel of that right there in front of everybody and prove that you're crazy enough to commit suicide. You got 2 choices. You got about 30 seconds. We're going to blow your house up, or you're going to eat one in the bar." And they got somebody sitting in the bar watching him. He eats the bullet, and it's over with. Because they end the trail that way. That's the same way they ended the trail with this other guy. And that's
Go ahead and do it, kid. Right. A suicide will be nice and neat.
Right.
And if I don't,
your
family gets to reenact Ruby Ridge.
Yeah. Your family, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts, we're going to
kill granny, your mammy, your auntie, your uncle, line them up and put a bullet in them. Oh, and your dog. Can't forget that. Yeah. Whenever the feds are involved, they got to ventilate your dog.
Eric, I'm telling you, that it's what we're not seeing. And on any of this other stuff that we've been talking about, follow the money and watch the gold. It's been the nonstop truth to show me everything. When you follow the money, it never lies. It always goes back to somebody named Rothschild or Bush or Clinton or Koch brothers or blah, Epstein, blah, Epstein.
I mean, this was such an obvious distraction from that 2 guys from the whole Epstein thing. I mean, it couldn't have been better timed.
I mean, isn't it amazing?
Yeah, how that happens.
Their timing's impeccable. I've got to say, their timing is impeccable on that. Funny how just as that's about to come to light, and just as that's about to make headline news, you know, can you imagine if the shootings had not happened and that had been the
headline? How much
would
they be talking about it right now?
Can you imagine if that was the headline plastered on the Times? 1 million pages of evidence in Epstein indictment?
Right.
That's not even the 33,000 emails of Hillary. We're talking about 1 million pages. You know,
and hard evidence on paper, right there.
So that's when you call in your Walmart Ho card. You know, that's when you've got your Walmart Ho card in your back pocket. The DOJ makes a phone call and says, "Hey, we need you to sacrifice a Walmart in El Paso real quick. We got to turn this thing around."
Yep. You find some Antifa soy boy bugman incel, hop him up on SSRIs, and then you tell him that, oh yeah, you'll be striking a great blow against Trump and the fascists, and then after he bites it, after a 20-minute rampage,
the cops
in a gun-free Walmart in Texas.
The cops
and let me tell you, in Texas there is no such thing as a gun-free zone.
Right.
I mean, even the Dallas dipshit, that moron that tried to attack the courthouse and got himself canoed by an off-duty cop, he was able to walk right up to the courthouse with a fucking AR, and nobody noticed a thing until he started shooting. But this guy in an El Paso Walmart, that was evidently a gun-free zone for some reason, and he had a 20-minute uninterrupted rampage.
Well, not only that, but he comes in with headphones on, walking around.
Yeah, ear pro, body armor, shooting goggles. He was expecting to survive this.
Like, what are you saving your hearing for?
Yeah, but it's quite amusing that after he gets domed, suddenly all his social media accounts change.
Yeah, they're all
suddenly
white.
His name changes, his party affiliation changes. If I've seen screen caps from him from before where it showed that he was a Democrat, he was a liberal, and he was heavily involved with a lot of Antifa stuff.
But CNN
but
and
after the shooting, he somehow magically turns into a Republican and a white supremacist, despite the fact that he's not even white.
And a Trump supporter at that.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. And then, of course, that set the stage for Dayton. The Gilroy guy, the guy that shot up the Garlic Festival in Gilroy, California, he was Antifa, too. He was a leftist, too.
Right after Antifa says, we're going to start staging some real attacks and start really doing some crazy stuff, every one of these shooters all of a sudden have Antifa Antifa badges, pictures with them Antifa, pictures behind them standing in a black jacket with an Antifa symbol on the jacket. I mean, they already announced that they're a domestic terror. They already announced that they're going to do this. So now they sent a couple of their goofy members off to, drink the Kool-Aid.
On SSRIs, hand them a cheap Bubba Century Arms AK or a cheap Bubba SKS and tell them to go do Lord Soros's work.
Yeah. Oh, and don't worry, you're in a crisis cast acting. This is all play.
Yeah, don't worry. The rounds are all blanks, and it's just going to be fake blood charges on the actors. And nobody's actually going to get hurt.
All of a sudden, you're James Holmes sitting in the court going, "What just happened?"
Sitting in the dock in the courtroom with that fucking look on your face. What just happened? I'm sorry.
Do you guys have access to the chat room? Are you guys in the Revolution Radio chat room?
Yes. Well, we're watching what you're doing.
We're watching
you can
the
type
live
stuff
chat
in there too, for the people too. You can type in anything, and what's cool, as you can see when you put it in, I mean, it actually brings up a whole view of the video you're sharing too, so you can actually share to that level on Revolution Radio. Pretty cool. Listener support. Yes, $7.99 for a month of the archives. That's to every single show on here, and we can talk about again the sandbox and the truth, what we believe to be the truth.
Do you not see the pattern though? Calling the Walmart Hope Card.
Yeah, we put it together. We put it together. What we did last week is we literally put together so many pieces live, like while we were live on
Before it even happened.
That's just on the fly. That's not a deep researching.
Last week, watched what happened this week, and was immediately able to say,
"Holy cow!
That's bull. That's bull. That's bull. That's bull. That's bull." What are they actually trying to hide from us now?
Yeah, well, and what 40 other things did they get biased that we weren't even aware was going on? Not to mention they're going to try and crash the markets. They're just trying so hard to just screw Trump any way they can get him. They know the only two things that really tugs on people's hearts is the economy and gun control. If they kill up enough people, they'll get gun control. It's just a matter of them.
That was my question, because we're being censored on how much we're able to tell the truth about these events now. So are the masses seeing through that facade, or are they going along with it? Are they just kidding? Because this came and went pretty quick. All these people, I think, are they testing people to see if they're just getting used to these, and they're just going to call them real no matter what, and then the gun control will come? That was my question earlier: is are we at that point, or do you think people still see through the facade?
We still got a lot of people seeing through, but we got a lot of people leaning now. You have enough people in the all shock and awe stage right now going, oh my God, look at how. Look,
right, and censorship.
I'm not putting any kind
channels getting nuked left and right, man.
Yeah, I'm not putting any light on the subject because anybody gets killed in any of these things is tragic, okay? But what I'm saying to you is there are 10 times more people die in car accidents every year. There is 10 times more people. You're still
more people died over the weekend in Chicago.
Right. I was going to say, right. That's not even counting injuries, Billy.
Yeah.
60 people died in Chicago over that same weekend, and that's not even including the injured, which is a lot. So, I mean, yeah. I mean,
where some area hospitals had to turn patients away. Some may go life-threatening wounds.
And did you hear what was funny about, I'll even have to say it, the Dayton incident? They were turning people away from the blood banks. When have you ever heard a blood bank turn people away? Never.
Which gun ever got up and killed anyone?
They'll
it's
get the samples and then
mental illness problem in this country.
Right. They'll take them somewhere else. Why would they turn people away from the Dayton area blood banks? It's like there's just so many weird anomalies. Look, Dayton seemed way more realistic than any of the other ones. But if you watch the footage of what we show in Crisis Cast,
but the guy still got domed in half a minute.
Right. How do you?
If he's laying down that level of hurt with an AR-15 with a 100 round double drum mag,
yeah,
that's you're basically on par with. You might as well have an M249 at that point.
And who rushes that guy? I mean, at least somebody takes cover and goes, "Look, we're gonna take this guy down." But you got to take 3 seconds to try and figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
You just don't run at a guy with a 100 round mag. 2 barrel clips.
Unless you're suicidal or Chechen.
Right. And dude, I give the Dayton police all the props in the world that they got this guy, but it's just awful crazy that they got this guy in like 5 seconds.
It's very odd to me that they happen to have somebody that was able to respond in that short a time.
I mean, out of 100 rounds of the first clip, okay, out of the first mag, out of 100 rounds out of the first mag, he only fired 52 rounds.
Was it? No, it was only 41, I thought.
52. Well, the thing said the other day 52. It could have been 41, 52. Anyhow, that's if you have that many rounds to fire, who takes a second to not fire the rest of the round? Could I see him getting him in the middle of a reload? Oh, yeah. That's because that's a big mag to drop.
Or if he had a jam and he was clearing it, which is not unheard of.
Which is not unheard of.
M16s jam like crazy.
But they got him. I mean, they just straight shot him right in the head. So, it's like...
But that's... in urban space like that, if his firearm was in any semblance of well-ordered maintenance, then he shouldn't have had a jam to have to clear. Or maybe a misfire if he was using reloaded range trash. I don't know.
It's just the whole thing just stinks to high heaven. And look, could it happen?
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Right. And then the weirdest one we were talking about with Crisis Cast last week is that some of the wounds look really weird. No blood, hole through and through the calf muscle. Nobody screaming.
Never mind that would have shattered the leg.
I've been shot twice. We've talked about this, Eric. I've been shot twice. It feels like you've been bit by a hot rattlesnake, okay? It feels like something jumped up, bit you in the leg, and then it's on fire. And I don't care if it passed through. What it left behind in the torn muscle is a waking mess. Okay.
To say nothing of the placement of some of these wounds that were apparently miraculous through and through, despite the fact that the wound placement would indicate a full penetration and probably shattering the bones underneath.
Just from the impact.
The one lady getting hauled off on the pallet jack with the I guess nickel-sized hole in her lower leg. Where that wound was, that should have shattered either tibia or fibula. She shouldn't have had a lower leg. It should have ended about mid-shin.
Or at least looked like a hog did it.
Right.
It would have looked like something approaching Hamburg.
So these are so obvious. And I'm going to take you guys out with what we started with. Why wasn't the Gray State movie released after 6 years? Why? This conversation.
Nobody wants to work on it. It's got to work on it. It's conversation.
Oh, this is Eric from Spitfire Sentinels.
How you doing, brother? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and all that good stuff.
It is a good to hear from you. Just for the people out there that don't know, Eric runs a channel. It's called Spitfire Sentinel. They do a lot of political talk as well as other interesting, controversial topics. It's a pleasure to have you dialing in tonight.
Oh, great to talk to you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, a long time. Probably six months or more.
Yeah, I love your new format. Last three callers were all different and had different interesting information. You know, they were really interesting to listen to, and I love the format that you're using, where you have different people call in. And tonight, I believe the topic was what, prepping?
That's one topic. We're kind of open forum tonight, so we're all across the board on different topics. So you're free to talk about anything that happens to cross your mind, Eric.
Well, I thought the last caller was pretty interesting because he was talking about the orbs and some of the things that we look to the sky to see these days. And, you know, I've noticed William Tompkins and Project Camelot and all of those different stations and different researchers, they've gone a little quieter recently. I was watching a lot of different things about disclosure, Wilcock and such, and I don't see as much right now. So I'm wondering if there's a reason for that. Maybe it's the holidays, or maybe they're out there channeling and getting their groove on right now rather than doing it online. What do you think? What's your take on that?
Maybe a little bit of both. I think things do kind of slow down a little bit during the holiday period going towards the new year. But at the same time, I hope that if these people do have information, that they are out there getting the groove on, you know, as you said.
Yep, channeling that good energy. That's another thing with your last callers seem to have in common, is they were like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And the thing with prepping is that, I mean, how can you prep for everything? I mean, if an earthquake happens, you know, that's going to kind of cancel out everything that you saved because you've just lost it in the earthquake. Or if there's a nuclear war, do you have the correct thing? I mean, in EMP, there's so many different possibilities that you'd be unable to prep for them all. I think the most important thing to have is some guns and some bullets. Because, I mean, number one is to be able to take care of your family or yourself or your friends, your loved ones, to be able to protect yourself.
Sure.
And, I mean, that's number one, is survive. And we're not exactly sure what may happen, if anything. You know, if you look into some of the biblical prophecy and some of the scriptures I heard some of your other callers talking about, we're in a tribulation period that some of the scholars are giving us 60, 70 years before it really happens. The real bad shit comes. But what was interesting is one of the callers had said, you know, we still can go outside and we have clean air to breathe, and I'm thinking, you know, that not really. I mean, it's getting dark out there.
Yeah, it's air. It might not be clean, but exactly.
Yeah, it's not. There's no clean about it anymore. I was looking for some sort of executive order by Trump to try to put a stop to it, but as you and I both are aware of, this is a worldwide thing, and you would have to. There's so many layers to what's going on in the skies and the geoengineering. When you connect it with the HARP towers, when you connect it with the cell phone towers and all that. But I would rather be anything but a Debbie Downer right now. I went off on a tangent there for a second, just because there is some bad things going on in this world. It is the world of Satan right now. Like it's the dark forces are running the world right now, and but there are still good people out there like ourselves that are trying to do the right thing and lead by example, and try to get the word out. I think the more we can make people aware, the more positive vibes and energy that we can send out there, that we can change this. And have the United States, I mean, we look pretty much like Babylon right now. I remember Mike and I were on one night. It was after what was it? We lost quite a few. Was it close to 100? Was it close to 100? What was the count of ICBMs that we just lobbed over at Syria because of a false flag, where nobody was actually freaking injured, and the doctors were handling this deadly substance without gloves. We had pictures of that. Was that the night that we had spoke?
Yeah. Oh, can you hear me, Eric?
Yep, I can hear you.
I said, yeah, that was the night.
Yeah, so I mean, when things like that are going on, we have to look at the bright side, that nobody was really freaking killed and no civilian were injured, and that it's kind of silly though that leaders are posturing, lobbing ICBMs at each other, and posturing. It breaks my heart to see this continual military-industrial complex carry on. I mean, did Trump just sign how much for the armed forces and the military? Which I'm all for keeping our military strong. But what was it, 800? I think it was 800 billion was the newest package. So I'd like to see more money go into naturopathic medicine. I'd like to see more money go into being able to have a choice in healthcare between medical and naturopathic. Naturopathic doctors are only allowed to practice in 19 states right now. So that would mean if I was practicing in Michigan and decided to cross over into Ohio, I could be facing a 1-year prison term and a $5,000 fine for practicing without a license. Now, you ever heard of a mineral or a vitamin killing somebody? Does that make any sense to you?
Definitely not, and it's silly. This is all largely a result of the American Medical Association. And, frankly, I mean, most insurance companies do not even cover chiropractic visits, let alone homeopathic therapy.
Correct. It's ridiculous. And, chiropractors, by the numbers, they're more educated than doctors.
Agreed.
They have way more education than actual doctors do. And I would love to see some sort of bills get passed to where you could put naturopathic medicine into people's healthcare plans, because it's too effective. I mean, essentially, all the pharmaceutical companies would go out of business because you wouldn't need any of these medications that you get, and then you need 5 more medications to handle the side effects from the first medication, and so on and so forth. I would love to see that happen. I'm not seeing any of this stuff. Are you?
No, and they don't want you to have access to anything that actually works without paying through the nose and risking the ramifications of unknown side effects. Case in point for me, I suffer from horrible RLS, restless leg syndrome, one of my ailments. And there used to be a drug that was absolutely fantastic at getting rid of RLS. It used to be cheap. It used to be available in over-the-counter remedies. It's called quinine. Then, of course, the FDA, what happens is the FDA realized that quinine was actually helping people and that they were not earning, the big pharma was not earning any money off of it. And they outlawed the sale of quinine in the United States. And the only way you can get it now is if you have malaria, you get it for the, malaria. Otherwise, you can't get it. So if something works, they act against it immediately.
Well, I mean, 99% of all disease is caused by a mineral deficiency. A lot of people are unaware of this, and that's just different minerals. Not vitamins, but minerals can pretty much alleviate. We're not allowed to say cure, but can pretty much alleviate or get rid of just about any disease, unless you're out in the Zulu nation and you've got some kind of freaking crazy disease there. Then yes, by all means, go to a doctor or a hospital. But by the numbers, I mean, doctors are the biggest killer in the United States to the tune of almost 1 million deaths per year. So doctors are the number 1 killer. They're more dangerous than a psycho with a gun. They're more dangerous than any dictator. It's crazy what we have going on in this country right now. At the same time, I do speak to a lot of different doctors being in the fitness industry, and they are starting to come together with naturopathy now. They're starting to hold hands a lot more and share ideas, whereas before, with the whole smear campaign that was run against them, way back in the 1900s, there was a huge smear campaign run against naturopathic doctors, and it's still in effect these days. It's the only system of medicine we have access to. It's the only system of medicine that our healthcare pays for. So why not put that in? Now, when they talk about vaccines, now, which, I mean, how can you hide it? If you look at the insert, it's basically everything in it will kill you. You got to read the insert. Nobody's getting vaccinations anymore. It's quite obvious the flu vaccine's a joke. That people do not get the vaccine, stay healthy. It's tough to hide now, isn't it?
Oh, it's definitely tough to hide. Fortunately, that is one area where there's become a lot of literature on the negative effects of the vaccine has become available online. one of the great benefits of the internet is that the truth can get spread. So a lot of people have learned now that sure, you get that vaccine, well, you're actually more likely to contract influenza than from not receiving the vaccine.
Right. Simple as that. Back when our Constitution meant something more than toilet paper these days, Benjamin Rush, he was Surgeon General to the Civil War armies, the Confederate side, and he was legendary, and he said, unless we write something into the Constitution that specifies that we can have choices of what type of health care we get, then this nation will organize into one single form of health care tyranny, and we'll have no choice. And that's what we see now. I mean, we have the access to best health care in the world, and yet we have the worst rate of disease. Riddle me how that is possible in the United States.
Yeah, I think overall, I don't have the figures in front of me, but when you talk about the mortality rate, we are certainly not positioned very well compared to other so-called first world nations.
Sure, and as I was saying before, and we're almost at like 12 minutes, I want to let other callers get on, but I do see doctors and naturopathy and holistic and all different forms of naturopathic practitioners coming together now as doctors, because chiropractors do have more training than medical doctors. Are starting to work together and starting to really come up with some solutions where, and some hospitals now, they have whole homeopathic wings, which we never saw before. So I think it's coming. I really do. I think that people are waking up, and that number one, we have to stay healthy. Without our health, what do we got? And during these holidays, that's probably what we should be focusing on the most, is our health. And so many people just could care less about their health. They'd rather have a lot of nice stuff and a lot of shiny toys than to be healthy. And that's kind of sad to me, but it is nice to see. And I believe that there's a revolution coming in the medical and naturopathic industry where they form as one. If we can keep Soros and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers away long enough, because they're the ones who formed this. And to finish up, I just like everybody to check out the Flexner Report, which was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, which ran a 7-year smear campaign back in the late 1800s. And they gave millions of dollars to any type of hospitals, medical industry, and they gave nothing to the naturopathic industry. That includes all of them. So if you're getting $1 million and I'm getting $1 million, who's going to have the more successful business?
Well, the one
you are, because you got $1 million.
I wouldn't know what it's like to have $1 million, so I don't know.
Well, back in the 1800s, I mean, a couple $1 million was a hell of a lot of money too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that was the end of naturopathy, and a lot of people are unaware of the history. Who made MDs king? They're not king. They're not trained in naturopathic medicine. They're not trained on how to heal people. They practice an allopathic, reductionistic type of. They don't believe the body can heal itself. They think if something's wrong with it, they got to go in and cut it out.
or pour drugs down your throat. Right.
Right, and a lot of doctors are really starting to wake up to the fact that they're not getting this training, and a lot of it they were lied to. That the body was meant to be able to heal itself.
We need a grand awakening for that to happen, because the physicians, they are still manipulated by the institution.
And that's the truth, Mike. And like I said, I'm starting to see it, because I do in the fitness industry train or work with doctors, and they're starting to win. Maybe it's just my little niche in this area, in where I live in the bunker deep in Detroit in an undisclosed location. But maybe it's just in my neck of the woods. But when I go online, I'm starting to look. They're starting to wake up. They're starting to work together. My question is, did doctors all these years, were they really that blind to what naturopathic medicine could do, or was there a huge money
incentive? I don't know. I I think what happens is that they are taught in school to abide by the AMA guidelines pretty much, and they're taught that naturopathy and homeopathy are bad things and do not work. And
Right.
like anybody else, they can become entrenched in these false beliefs. And
It's totally true. Mm-hmm.
and they become a victim of their profession, for lack of a better way of putting it. And sure, I imagine a lot of them do wake up, but I will tell you that I have never had a physician suggest to me that any sort of homeopathic or naturopathic medication would benefit me in any capacity. In fact, when I have told physicians that I have taken homeopathic or naturopathic remedies, they've essentially narrowed their eyes at me and say, "You don't know what's in those. You don't know what you're putting in your body." I say, "Well, I know what's going in my body a lot better than 97% of the drugs that the pharmacy is going to prescribe me."
I've seen that look so many times because I'm a nutritionist too, and when I talk about some of these naturopathic medicines, and they do, their eyes get huge and you look like an alien all of a sudden to them, and it's amazing to me. Selenium is one that they have to talk about now. There's no denying it. This is a mineral that cuts your chance of lung cancer by 60%, even if you smoke. This is one that cuts your chance of breast cancer by 80%. The thing is now that people are getting hip to the minerals, they're putting a bunch of placebo garbage on the shelves that don't have any freaking potency in them, and telling you that here's your selenium. It's been that way with vitamins for a long time.
Yeah, well, I guess all we can do, Eric, is hope for the best and hope that more physicians do come around to the light side of the force and can shake that dogmatic medical practice that has, blinded them exploring other options and, enlightening their patients and giving their patients additional information outside of what is printed in their pamphlets. So that's that's what it is.
Read the pamphlets, sure, and again, there's definitely a money incentive too. That a lot of these doctors,
oh yeah,
they turn to the blind eye to it.
They get kickbacks from big pharma and all kinds of things. That's been going on for decades.
Like they get $3,000 per chemo session in their pocket. Per chemo session. Think about that. Think about your average cancer patient. How many sessions do they need? 6, 10? You hear it all the time. That's one patient, $30,000 in their pocket. And you tell me there's no cash incentive there.
Well, they have huge financial incentives to abide by their established practices. Yes.
That blew me away when I thought about $3,000 cash in their pocket and plus there's incentives to give drugs away too, but the chemo is the big end. And I thought there's that word again.
This is crazy that
when you become a doctor, isn't the first rule you learn is thou shalt do no harm? Isn't it freaking interesting that they do the opposite?
Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and all that shit.
But somehow they have convinced themselves that they are doing no harm.
My newest upload.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to buy into with all the doctors because some obviously they go through all the schooling. They're smart. Some of these guys and gals are very smart cats, and I just it's hard for me to believe they would just be brainwashed like that. But then again, it's just one profession, and we can see how the masses have been brainwashed by many things. As far as last thing I wanted to ask you about was what's your take on the Las Vegas shooting?
My take on that, to boil it down as simply as possible, I do believe it really happened. I do believe that people died. I believe there was multiple shooters, 2, possibly more. I believe that Paddock was probably a patsy.
That was exactly my thinking, and I still think some people did die until I started checking out some of Dr. James Fetzer's work, and they're having trouble finding any death records for anybody.
I'll look at it.
I thought that was really interesting because I'm like, no, not this time. I think there was multiple shooters, everything you just said, but then as I started looking at James Fetzer's work, he's like, well, there's no medical record, there's no death record, all these anomalies.
my biggest concern on that is, is that it was not a controlled environment. We were talking about an area where there were 23,000 people. We're not talking about a Sandy Hook or a school where there's 40 people within a 1,500-foot square building. This is a huge environment, much more difficult to control and manipulate.
Sorry, you should have waited.
So,
like 7
I'll
minutes.
look at it. I'm open to everything. To me, it just seems too complicated that they could have fabricated the 50 deaths or however many deaths occurred in the Vegas incident, the Vegas thing.
I agree. I agree with you still. I really do. Even after that, it's just I found it really interesting that, and Dr. James Fetzer, he's a pretty well respected researcher. I'm sure you've heard of him, and he's been digging, and he'll be the first to admit he's wrong, but he hasn't found any death records yet. So I thought that was really interesting. Because we know the deep state has no problem killing people.
Right. Exactly.
We do it in war every day.
Definitely. Just accept it, right?
Right. It's been great talking to you, man, and I hope to get you back on the show soon.
Are you guys still doing shows?
It's Mike from New
Yeah, I do. Bob hasn't been with me for a few months. He's been taking care of some family stuff, but he's dying to get back on. I get on sporadically. We just did an interview with, supposedly it was supposed to be one of the people who were helping make the movie Gray State with David Crowley.
Okay.
And a couple of guys who were going to debate him for the other side, and they were very good guys, very respectful, very Christian guys, and the other people just told him to fuck off and didn't. Can I use that word?
No, you don't here, but it slipped out, so we're not going to pull up that.
I was doing so well, man. Anyway, these guys that were supporting the narrative that he was that he flipped out and that he killed his wife and his young daughter, and that's what happened, and that's that. They wouldn't come on and have a respectful debate, and all the evidence points to there's another false flag. If you haven't looked into it, this was around the holiday season. Have you looked into David Crowley, Gray State?
I'm familiar. Not as much as I would like to have. I just been busy with other things, but I am familiar with Gray State.
Interesting.
Gotcha. I had a chance to interview several times some of the guys who believe that this was another deep state hit, or I found it interesting that all of his friends and David Crowley, the backstory of David Crowley is he was in the military, did 2 tours, Afghanistan and Iraq, and he was making this film called Gray State, which was going to expose what's really going on in this country with surveillance and with FEMA. The coffins, the guillotines, all of it, bigger than anything we've seen so far. And he was getting the funding, and
December
long story
27th,
short,
2017.
a couple days before he was about to get $30 million to fund this project,
almost 1
they
year
said that
ago.
he shot his wife and his 5-year-old daughter to death on Christmas. And the anomalies in that one is just ridiculous, too. But could he have done it? Yes. But all signs in their relationship pointed to otherwise. But we know that the deep state, they have tools out there that are light years ahead of what we know.
The deep state instead of government.
They are able to, through triangulating these cell phone towers and HARP and whatever else, totally scramble people's brains and minds and make them go nutty. So that could have happened too. So we're not sure, but nobody's reading. So look, 2 years later, 2 years since they said they were going to re-release it. It's been 3 years now, and the movie still hasn't been released. Now, why is that all the co-producers decided to shelve this project?
Well, likely because they were pressured.
Yes, they were pressured. And the sad part is these were some of the closest people in their in David Crowley's lives. These were his brother, his dad, people that he served in the military with who were like family, all supporting the narrative that this is the way it went down, and yet all the evidence suggests otherwise. I'm going to share one anomaly with you. They had a dog and most people's dogs are like family. Maybe he was whacked out and didn't kill the dog, whatever. The dog was in there for almost 3 weeks. 3 weeks with the corpses, and they found, part pieces of the corpses bitten, eaten by the dog. And as we're looking at the crime scene photos, there's this gigantic. We didn't notice it, man. I didn't until about a couple weeks ago. And there's a full bag of dog food sitting there. Now a dog knows where his food comes from, and it's going to tear into that bag before it's going to start eating people.
Sure.
Eating their own. So that was a big one. Another one was, well, where's the dog getting 3 weeks of water from? It was a small house, two bathrooms, and once the toilets are empty, where does it get water from? Did it learn how to turn the sink on? So that was another. There was all kinds of anomalies like that, Mike. In that movie, it would have been awesome to see that movie get made.
Because I let off our promo with the Gray State
one day it will happen.
mini movie thing.
Well,
for 3 minutes, so
if
that's
things,
perfect.
things continue on the path they are, it's going to happen. A lot of the things that were being talked about in the movie were already happening. People just are unaware, for the most part, of how much it's happening and on what scale it's happening. And they got dudes sitting back on huge freaking Sony Trinitrons, watching people eating their dinner.
Exactly.
And that can happen at any point, anytime. Even if you put a piece of tape over your computer. I mean, think about these smart appliances and smartphones and smart cars. It's all smart. It's all interconnected. I mean, they thought that we were nuts talking about cameras being in our TVs, cameras being in our refrigerators now. They can, and sure enough, it's all come out that they're there, right?
They're there. This way they want to see how much milk you have in your refrigerator.
Right.
I don't mean to cut you, Eric, but I'm going to bring it to a close for tonight. I'm going to keep my ears open for your next show. Again, it's Eric from Spitfire Sentinels. Good channel. Check him out. And you guys know I do not endorse many channels, but I like Eric and his shows. And I'm glad to hear you're still doing them, because I haven't gotten any notifications from you. But with YouTube, and I am subscribed, of course, but sometimes YouTube, they try and keep you from getting notifications.
Yeah, well, my main channel's been down for 3 months because of Sandy Hook work I did. So that's probably why. I'm probably on a backup channel right now. It's just Eric Spitfire channel.
All right. Well, thanks again. I appreciate that, and you have a great evening. It's been a pleasure talking to you tonight.
Thank you, Mike. God bless. Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Good. I got that. See, now I can just use my little system and record it.